Yo guys, it's Vin, and today I'm going to be giving you a few tips on how to improve at breaking neutral in Brawlhalla. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Alright guys, we're going to start with a quick little definition. I've seen this said many different ways, but they all basically mean the same thing. Neutral game in Brawlhalla, or I'm pretty sure like any platform fight or anything like that, is basically when neither player has an advantage over the other. So regardless of health, don't worry about stocks, don't worry about all of that. If I'm standing over here and my opponent, the Yumiko, is standing over there and we're both going like this, right? Nothing's happening, so neither of us have an advantage. Whereas if I am down here off the stage, I have limited space, right? My opponent can edge guard me, so I am in a disadvantaged state and she is in advantage state, right? So that's kind of how that works. Now, because breaking neutral game is pretty broad overall, there's no one way to break neutral, so I want to get that right off the bat. Breaking neutral simply means you have an advantage, right? So whether that be you landed an attack or you're simply in a better position to land an attack, right? Now, I think we'll start with the first tip, which is knowing which moves are good in neutral. Of course, I can't tell you exactly everything that's good in this game in neutral. I can give you some criteria though. Basically, any move that's quick has low startup frames, low recovery frames, so that means it's quick to hit, it's hard to punish, right? Because you can jump out of it right away or something like that. That's pretty good in neutral because, again, you don't have an advantage state right away, right? So there's no guarantee that if I walk up to my opponent and I try and end late, there's no guarantee that, she's not going to just walk away from this and avoid it. A move like Sword End Light is the epitome of something that's pretty good in neutral. Sword D-Light is not really as good in neutral, but it's much better for punishing, right? Sword D-Light, it leads into all of your true combos, so you get higher value punishes than just end lighting them. However, the downside is that you can't really do this in neutral because it's slower. The hitbox is smaller, so this is even easier for my opponent to react to and avoid, right? If my opponent's in recovery frames, though, this is guaranteed. Now, I can give you a few examples, I guess. I'm not going to go through the whole roster, though. Sword End Light, like I talked about, is good. Nair is good. Dare is also good, doing something like a jump dare. You can even like drift away. This is very, very safe, hard to punish. Even something like Sword Sidelight is good, pretty good in neutral, because if I walk up to my opponent and go like this, it's pretty hard to react to and it forces them to do something. If I switch to my other weapon, Axe, which I love this weapon, very cheesy, my favorite weapon. End Light, good. D-Light is also good because it's quick. Nair, doing something like a jump dare again, still pretty good. Something that's not as good on Axe in neutral is Sidelight. Now, this move is great for punishing, right? Long range, all that. However, it's a little slow, right? And it's pretty easy to punish. There's a lot of end lag on it. So, especially something like Falling Sare, this is not a really good method of breaking neutral, just walking up to your opponent and trying to fall on top of them. This is very, very common with heavy weapons. Axe Sare, Hammer Sare, Lance Sare, they're all very big moves, and people in lower ranks, even in like low diamond, people will try to fall on top of you and do this. This is not a very good way of breaking neutral. I forgot to talk about sword one more time. Using your dodge is also not really a good thing in neutral because, again, there's no guarantee that it's going to hit, so why would you waste your dodge, bet it all on something as risky as doing a GC delay, right? So anyway, that's basically how you would tell what moves are pretty good in neutral. Alright guys, the second tip is probably the most important thing I would say in this video, which is be closer to your opponent. Now, I want to make it very clear that I don't want you to be right on top of your opponent. Because, sure, if I go like this is guaranteed to hit, right? So that's good. But being on top of your opponent at all times is not the best thing to do. It's a little awkward, right? A lot of times you can't think to space your moves out properly, right? Some moves require proper space, and being right on top of your opponent, it's a little awkward, right? You might just flail and miss around for like 15 seconds, and that's just frustrating. But if you're approaching someone, you need to know your moveset and your opponent's moveset very well. So, if you're approaching someone and you're getting closer to them, you always want to judge the distance based on a spot where if they miss a move, right? If this Yumiko misses, I'm in a spot where I can immediately punish them, right? But to know exactly where that is, I also need to know what moves this Yumiko has available to her. So I'll give you a quick example. If this Yumiko, if I control her, and she has a hammer, hammer has no grounded anti-air. So that means I can't, if you're in the air, I can't attack you with any of my grounded moves, right? None of these hit aerial. So it's not a terrible idea to kind of chill out in this area right above the Yumiko. Because again, breaking neutral game, it still has to do with baiting and punishing, which we'll talk about later. Baiting out a move from this Yumiko so I can land and punish the move, right? So if I hang around this area, this Yumiko is probably unable to do anything about it, so she might panic, she might throw out an attack, and I just land and I punish. I'll give you a little bit of a tougher example, all right? A bow, it doesn't have like any blind spot, all right? This weapon is notorious for being difficult to get around because all the moves cover everywhere. So one way to, some advice I can give you to break neutral against a bow is thinking about it in terms of bow delight, right? I can't tell you definitively whether you want to be close or far away from a bow player, but I will tell you that bow delight has some of the most recovery frames on the bow kit. So again, you don't want to be right on top of them, but if you're against a bow player, you might want to be sitting around in this area, baiting your opponent to dash delight you, right? The distance that you're going to be from your opponent has to do with your moves, and it also has to do with what your opponent has available to them. So if this Yumiko misses a delight, I just jump and I fall down and I punish, right? All right, guys, tip 3 is knowing your opponent's habits. So I don't want this to sound like black magic or anything, but, with experience, you'll know what your opponent, what the common options are, what your opponent will have available to them, right? What moves they like to do, but you also want to be able to adapt to the opponent themselves, what they like to use, right? There are a lot of bad habits that apply to people regardless of what weapon they have, and I can talk about a few of them right now. But again, breaking neutral often has to do with baiting and punishing. Moving up close to them is just one part of it. A very bad habit that a lot of people have is, let's see if I can control this person, is when someone approaches me, right, I feel pressured because they move closer to me, right, and I feel that they can hit me, so they start jumping up and down. They do all this, and then they land with an attack, right? Landing with an attack immediately puts you in disadvantage state because you're in recovery frames, right? So I'm locked into doing this move. And because of that, you can take advantage of this, and if I'm the Finn, I walk up to my opponent, and someone who does this, they'll float around, and what I do is I just wait for them to land, right? I wait for them to land, I take a step back, and I go back and punish them. And I've essentially broken neutral by making them attack me, right? Again, baiting and punishing. Bait them to attack me, and I just move away and I punish it. It's easier said than done, though. There's a lot of different things that people do. That's just one of the bad habits that people like to do. Alright guys, the fourth tip I have is to get comfortable with your movement options. Now, this may seem super obvious, and I might not even just say it, but movement is everything when it comes to breaking neutral and baiting and punishing in Brawlhalla, right? For now, I can't go over everything, but if you want to hear me go very, very in depth on movement, go check out my movement guide. It's kind of an old video, but it's in the description and it still applies, right? Movement never changed. But basically, yeah, the most important movement things I can think of off the top of my head are dash dancing, because it's a very easy way to get close to your opponent, right? Make them think they can attack you. You step away and you step back in and you punish them, right? You can do dash jumps. I like dash jumps because it avoids grounded moves. So if you know your opponent is really trigger happy and they just like to go like this, right? The moment they see you, you can dash jump over them and fall on top of them with an attack like that. And even if they catch onto you, right, and I do my dash jump and my opponent is like, oh, he's going in the air, so I'm gonna punish him, right? I can just dodge back. Go like this, dodge back, and now if I still have time, I can punish him, right? simply jumping up, down, and fast falling. Now, I know this doesn't seem like I'm breaking neutral. This is more of a baiting and punishing guide because I've said that like a quadrillion times this video. But it's very important. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people will fall for you if you just walk up to them and you jump and you fast fall, right? And they think, oh, you're gonna land, so she's gonna attack the ground, right? But I jump, I fast fall, and I jump right before I hit the ground, and then I punish them like that, something like that. Alright guys, the fifth and final tip, I don't even think I needed a title slide for this, but it's basically just weapon throw. Weapon throw is very strong in Brawlhalla. I very, very, like, heavily implore you to use this while they're still broken as they are. You can immediately use them to just get a quick hit off, and again, breaking neutral can be being in a better position to hit your opponent, or it can just be landing a hit on your opponent, right? This is basically free damage if you just throw your weapon at them. You know, throwing your weapon can also just be used to get out of disadvantage state. For example, if I'm stuck being juggled in the air, throw my weapon down and do something like that. It immediately gets me out of harm's way. If I'm coming back to the stage and my opponent's really good at guarding me, I just throw my weapon, right? I don't even need to get my weapon back. Just me being on the stage safely is good win, right? So yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope that made sense. I tried to record this whole thing in one take. My power might go out in a second, so yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Just a quick little update. I am probably going to be postponing a lot of my Brawl content for a little bit until I get my laptop, which should come early June. So yeah, basically I'm transferring to PC Brawl. I've been on PlayStation this whole time. I know, shocker. It's crazy, right? got this far with only 720p recording on a free software. Anyway, guys, if you want more updates, go follow me on Twitter. That's at vinpermbh, VINPERMBH on Twitter. I post my updates. I post a lot of random stuff there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope it made sense. I hope it helped you. And see you guys next time. Bye.